What is that noise?
Huh?
What was that noise?
I don't know. My body was doing something there. All right. Ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Around the 412. We are part of allsteelers.com and proudly presented by Crowworthy, where winners are serving winners coast to coast with sports, gambling, fantasy, and more. You can follow Crowworthy at Crowworthy on Twitter, and you can visit us at crowworthy.com. You can also check out the Crowworthy Pittsburgh City page for podcasts just like this one, blogs, and more. I'm Tyler, and with me as always is Smitty. What's going on, man?
What is going on? I'm a whole vibe right now.
Yeah, whenever I first joined the Zoom call and you were wearing those glasses, I'm like, what the heck is this dude doing?
So it will make a little bit more sense, hopefully, next week. But I don't want to give too much away. But I'm trying to replicate a certain iconic image in Pittsburgh history.
I gotcha. Are you still full from last night?
Oh man, yeah. I already said it on the fantasy show that we did earlier. But happy belated birthday to our YouTube video editor Sarge. We went out to dinner last night at Texas Day Brazil, which if anybody's like local to Pittsburgh, hopefully you know what that is. It's an awesome place in Station Square. Unbelievable food. It's unlimited meat. You keep that card green for as long as you want, which I think Tyler here wanted to keep it green a little bit longer than we kept it green. But yeah, phenomenal meal.
I've been known to be able to throw down some meat in my lifetime. I've always said that place is the only place that I can think of where I feel like a king, because I literally just have servers bringing me various forms of meat and I can eat as much as I want of it. And at the end of the day, I'm not a king because I'm paying a very expensive bill. But in the moment, that's the closest I'll ever get to being a king.
Yeah, it sneaks up on you though. Like at least for me, because like you just want like everything that's coming to you, but you do
Right.
that, and out of nowhere, it punches you in the face and in the stomach, and then in the wallet.
Yeah, at first I will say that I tend to pretty much grab everything that they bring to the table. I try everything at least once for the most part, and then once they start to bring it back around, there's certain things that I'll just nix out because I know there's stuff I want more of, like the flank steak, filet mignon, anything like that. I really like the lamb as well. I know Stubbs likes the lamb. We'll talk to him later in the show with our bets. But yeah, last night was a fun night. Happy belated birthday, Sarge. I have not eaten yet today, and I don't even know if I really want dinner yet. Like I honestly am that full still.
I don't know if it was the best thing to follow up that meal with, but I actually had Taco Bell earlier. So,
I mean, that could be a lot of various things coming out the back end. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Anyways, we will dive into a lot of topics. I started like tweeting out the agenda for the show. That way people have a good idea of what we're going to be talking about. So if you don't follow us on Twitter already, make sure you are at around the 412. You'll know what we're talking about beforehand. I'm excited to dive into those, but I tell you guys about Manscaped first, one of our sponsors. So football's back, people. That means it's time to throw on your team's colors and make sure you don't fumble your grooming below the waist. Our partners at Manscaped are here to save your boys from a Bud Dupree on Matt Moore-like hit. So you stay clean and take care of yourself where it matters most. Manscaped is here with a surefire touchdown with the best tools for your grooming experience. I have pretty much everything that they have. I will say the one thing that I'm not currently in possession of is the new Weed Whacker, which is for your nose and ears. I do not currently have that, but I also know Manscaped said that they would be sending us some new stuff. Maybe that's included in it. At Manscaped, make sure that it is. All right. Other than that, I have pretty much everything, and I love everything that they have. They spent 18 months perfecting their Lawnmower 3.0, which is ceramic blade with skin-safe technology. Your snags will be reduced due to that. The Perfect Package 3.0 comes with a brand new and improved lawnmower. It's waterproof, performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag for you to use once we are done with this whole quarantine thing. I don't know when that's going to be, but at some point we are going to be done with it. And when you're able to travel, go on vacation again, you're going to need that travel bag for your lawnmower 3.0 and all your other Manscaped goodies. So it also comes with a crop preserver and crop reviver, which you probably haven't really heard us mention those actual names because we just call them the deodorant and the toner, but that's the official names of them. Tyler has them right there. We both use them on a daily basis. Those things are awesome. So again, the Lawnmower 3.0 is really like their big thing that they're pushing right now. But for me, like the accessories and the other like essential daily stuff is the stuff that's really going to pull you in. So again, you can get all this great stuff by going to manscaped.com and using code 412 at checkout. That'll get you a 20% off discount. Plus the stuff will ship for free. Again, that's code 412.com and that gets you 20% off plus free shipping.
Yeah, I've currently got, just like you, I've got the deodorant, I've got the toner, I've got the shower gel, I have the cologne, and I recently purchased the foot duster as well, which I've mentioned before on multiple shows. I definitely need that. So I'm excited to get that. And the cool thing about it is they all have a certain like distinct smell. Like, it's like the Manscaped smell when you smell it, and it's a good smelling smell. So yeah, definitely use code 412.
Certain smelly smell.
Smells. Smelly.
We do have somebody in chat right now, and I want to make sure that I am not leaving them hanging. Oh, nice! You won your fantasy game this week. You might have missed it because we were super early with doing the show today, but we did the fantasy show earlier. You said thank you, Julio. Yeah, I mean, I hope that him and Matt Ryan are back on the same page finally, and Atlanta gets back to where they should be on offense, putting up 30+ points. But hey, welcome. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit that notification bell so you know when we go live. Assuming how quickly you got in here, that's probably the case already, but just want to make sure to anybody listening back, make sure you do the same. Our big thing right now is we want to push the YouTube content. So make sure you are subscribed and hit that notification bell so you know when we go live for the shows. A lot of good to take away from. Oh, go ahead. You about to say something?
Well, I was going to say, before we get into Steelers, I just wanted to bring up, because I know it wasn't on the notes. And you mentioned the Matt Moore hit. So my mind went to Dolphins, and just that Tua is going to be starting this week. And I just wanted to talk about that with you and get your idea on that, where to me, it seemed like odd timing, at least because the Dolphins are 3-3. They're not doing too bad. Ryan Fitzpatrick is performing, I think, decently well. I mean, he has
12 total touchdowns. Yeah,
he's got 12 total touchdowns. He's passing for a little over 1,500 yards so far. He's on pace for over 4,000, which would be a career high, by the way. So I just don't really see the need to make the switch to Tua. I think that it's more so they just wanted to get to him, get it out of the way, get the basically peel off the Band-Aid. I just don't think that it was necessarily needed, though, especially with the way your team's going. I mean, you're not bad, and Ryan Fitzpatrick hasn't been doing bad. And I thought that they would keep Ryan Fitzpatrick in there, especially with the injury that Tua had and him rehabbing and making sure that he's 100%. I thought that they would keep him in there until he started to perform badly or the team was doing bad, and then they're like, okay, we'll switch to Tua. But it just seems like an odd timing to me, and I just wanted to know what your thoughts on it were.
Well, I kind of tweeted out that it was a little bit of a curious decision to me, just because of, I could regurgitate exactly what you just said, but it's for the exact same reasons. The team's not in a bad spot. You have the extra playoff spot, so you feel like they could compete. New England doesn't look like the same Patriots. I mean, Miami's higher than them in the standings right now. So they're only trailing Buffalo, and it's just by a game. So, I mean, they're very much still in play in the AFC East. I think what it says is the team was comfortable enough to make that switch. They like what they've seen in practice. And also, I think the biggest statement that it makes is no matter what their record was, they were going to come out of the bye with Tua Tagovailoa as the starting quarterback of the Miami Dolphins. I think if they were 0-6, 1-5, 2-4, 3-3, 4-2, 5-1, 6-0, it wouldn't have mattered. Like, Tua was going to be their quarterback following the bye, and they predetermined that before the season started. So obviously, Ryan Fitzpatrick, I don't know what he could have done differently. I don't think that they could have asked much more from him than the spot that the team is in. They're on pace to finish scoring more points this year than they have in 4 years. So, I mean, he definitely put the offense in a much better position this year and, did everything that you could ask for from, a guy in that position where it is just a bridge guy to Tua. So it's nothing that he did. I think it's really just about them ready to make the leap of faith in Tua and just kind of throw him into the fire because they think he's ready. So I think it's a statement about his health first and foremost, but also the fact that, they were going to make this switch regardless of where the team was at following their bye week.
Right. And it was nice to see Tua going out to the 15-yard line after he was able to get in the game on Sunday. 15-yard line, for those of you who don't know, that's where he got injured and got that hip injury. So it was really cool to see that moment. But follow-up question for you, and this is just like a little dumb question. Should the Cowboys trade for Ryan Fitzpatrick?
So being that, and kind of to backtrack on the Tua injury thing, I think that Ryan Fitzpatrick needs to be on that roster as an insurance policy, just in case things do go south, whether it be due to injury or Tua isn't ready for game situations and the team starts to fold or fall out of favor, but try to pick the offense back up before it falls off too much and make that switch back to Fitzpatrick if they do want to compete. So I think Miami would be stupid to move him. But, everybody's got a price. If a team's going to really overpay for Ryan Fitzpatrick this year because they feel like they're a quarterback away. I mean, yeah, look at Dallas. The division they're in, that is completely up for grabs right now. I mean, any one of those teams could trade for Ryan Fitzpatrick and probably be in a better position quarterback wise. Well, Carson Wentz, I guess maybe not. So 3 out of 4 of those teams could trade for Ryan Fitzpatrick right now and be in a better position. I don't think that any of them would. Just because what's the incentive to do so for at least 2 of those teams, maybe all 3, depending on what Dallas wants to do with Dak, they'd be better off not winning that division. What are you going to win the division, just get blown out in the first playoff game? I'd rather have, the top 10 pick and be able to try to get my next franchise guy. So I don't know. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick stays put in Miami, but I think that, with that November 3rd trade deadline coming up, we could see some teams calling about him, and it will be interesting to see what a team would pony up.
Yeah, and I definitely think that he's showed he's worth another contract to some team.
It's crazy. Yeah, he's probably moving on to another organization, and you start to look around the league, and most guys, they want to, but he could be in the same situation. Say he goes to a place, who's going to be taking a quarterback next year, most likely, like
New York,
set in stone. The Jets. Does he go back to
just assuming that they get the number 1 pick? Yeah, they're taking
Trets. Well, yeah, but not number 1 because Trevor Lawrence will come in and start right away. I'm thinking of a team that he could do the exact same situation with. It's be signed to be the starter day 1, but only start 6 games and then they're moving on again. Maybe Washington, but Washington, I mean, they have Kyle Allen, I think, still under contract.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what's Chicago going to do with their quarterback situation?
I don't know.
Or I think he has another deal on it, or a year left on his deal, but Kirk Cousins in Minnesota, he's not great. So Minnesota's definitely going to be looking for a quarterback.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they're kind of in that purgatory right now, where Kirk Cousins. He shows flashes, he's not absolutely terrible, but you're not going to win anything with him. And
especially with the contract number that he's on, it's not worth it. It just makes it that much worse.
Yeah, I mean, being stuck in purgatory is terrible. You got to either flat out suck to get your next guy or be great. And they are in that purgatory right now with Kirk Cousins, and we'll see how quickly they can get out of it. But I don't know. Moving on, though, to talk about the Steelers, there's a lot of good to take away from this game against Cleveland. But you might, start with the bad. We'll start with the bad news and get to the good to cheer everybody up. In a blowout victory, we lose Devin Bush for the season with a torn ACL in his left knee. Obviously a huge hit, not just to the defense, but the locker room. And, this is the quarterback of the defense, your signal caller. He played 100% of the snaps this season before that injury. So this is a huge loss and you can't really understate it. But the question is going to be now, how do you go about replacing it? I mean, you would like to the world isn't going to stop for the Pittsburgh Steelers to figure out their middle linebacker situation. They got to figure it out right now. And Robert Spillane came in and filled in incredibly. Played a really solid game. And I think that game kind of played towards his strengths, the way that Cleveland runs their scheme and how they're built offensively. And Tennessee will probably be a very similar situation. where he's playing to his strengths. My biggest question is going to be, what are they going to do against like pass heavy teams? Who's going to be dropping in coverage? You would think that, like, are they going to ask Vince to do that more now? I mean, I don't
we've
know.
seen Vince cover Keenan Allen, and I'm not a huge fan of it.
No, and it's nothing against him. You know, it comes down to, we've talked about it before. Like, it's not these guys' fault what their best attributes and their worst attributes are. Like, they have their strengths as players. It's about the coaches putting him in the right position to succeed. So I guess, you know, the question is going to be, can a combination of Robert Spillane, Marcus Allen, and Ulysses Gilbert, who will be on the show tomorrow, actually, are they going to be able to provide enough at that middle linebacker position to tell the team to not go out and get somebody to try to replace Devin Bush?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I would prefer to keep it in-house just because trading for a guy that is probably going to end up being more or less a rental, then at least I would assume so, is worse in my opinion than just trying to keep it in-house. I think that if you can get through with Robert Spillane, Marcus Allen, Ulysses Gilbert, like you said, that's the best. And I think the benefit of having Marcus Allen transition to linebacker is maybe you have Spillane or Gilbert out there for the running downs, and then if it's a for sure passing down, you could test out Marcus Allen and have him cover either the tight end or a wide receiver or something else because he's a natural safety. I mean, he grew up playing safety. That's what he was. So that's where I would go with it. I wouldn't really look on the trade market for one. But yeah, just going back to the injury, that it's just a huge blow. And initially, obviously, no one wants to like guess an injury. Obviously, I did on Twitter. Anybody who follows me, but it was just too obvious to me of what it could have been because it was a no contact injury. Anytime you see something like that, it's normally with the knee and the ACL, and it's just terrible. But back to what we were discussing, yeah, I would keep it in house and just see how they roll. I mean, give the guys a shot because before that, I mean, like you said, Devin Bush was playing 100% of the snaps, and I think it's just they have to take in a next man up mentality and go into this saying like, here's my shot and I'm going to make the most of it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. We know that the way the Steelers operate, I think that we can figure out that they're probably going to try to stay in house. I mean, I talked about it on the Steelers post game show that I did this past week when we had some people on and we were talking about, you know, yeah, do you make a trade for a guy like Avery Williamson from the Jets, who I think would be intriguing just because like the mock trade somebody threw out there was for like a 2022 sixth, and like for that price, I mean, yeah,
but yeah, I would do that too.
So but getting back to like the Steelers philosophy, if you're on the roster, they feel like you are capable of being in any position that they put you in. You know, a guy like Ulysses Gilbert, who's been, you know, he's only gotten a helmet in one game this year, but he's on the active roster, and if they're going to play him, they feel like he is capable of being put in that spot. Same with Robert Spillane. You know, they feel like he's capable of being the starting middle linebacker for this team. That's why he was on the roster. So will they make a move? I don't know. It's so tough to tell with the Steelers. Like, we know them pretty well by now. They keep everything close to the vest. If they were making a trade right now, we wouldn't know until the news broke. Like, they don't say anything about what they're doing. Their business does not get out.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, again, I think that at least for this week, they're going to roll with what they have. It could go based off what they see in this game, though. You know, if the guys like Spillane, Allen, and Gilbert do not show enough in this game, maybe they really start, you know, scouring the trade market, because that we got about 2 weeks or so until that trade deadline comes.
Yeah, and I think that even though Keith Butler has his flaws, one area that he was good at was being the linebackers coach, and he's coached a lot of good linebackers. So I'm hoping that he's able to really help these guys, coach them up, and get them in the right situations to put them at a place to succeed, because the worst thing you could do is just making them uncomfortable. I mean, like kind of like just going back to like what I mentioned before, whenever we were playing the Chargers and Vince Williams was covering Keenan Allen most of the night, that made no sense to me. It was just a mismatch the whole game. So I'm hoping that they, and what's their linebackers coach? Jerry Oslowski.
I don't know how it's pronounced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that they can coach them enough to get them in the right situations to succeed.
Yeah. And that's what it comes down to. So, moving on, I do want to talk about their injury report as we go towards this game with the Titans. Obviously, I mean, Ben doesn't practice on Wednesdays. We know that. The real good news here is that Deonte Johnson was full on a Wednesday, which wouldn't happen unless, he's going to play on Sunday, it looks like. Because unless he has a setback or something tomorrow, he should be good to go. The fact it wasn't even limited, he was a full participant today. So did not practice today. Ben, not injury related. Juju, who hasn't practiced on a Wednesday due to a little bit of a knee issue pretty much all year. Mike Hilton with his shoulder issue that he left Sunday's game with. Derek Watt re-aggravated his hamstring injury. Marquise Pouncey with a foot injury. He left Sunday from that. And then Stephon Tuitt, which is not injury related, did not practice either. And then Deonte Johnson was full with his back. And DeCastro got in a limited practice due to his abdomen injury. So I think the guy's really to monitor. I don't have a worry about Juju just because he's been doing this the entire year. Probably got to watch Pouncey with that foot and hope that he gets in at least a limited practice tomorrow. Again, though, with how long he's been in the league, I don't think that he necessarily has to practice this week to play, but you would like to see him get in, at least 1 or 2 limited sessions. And then Hilton with the shoulder issue, I think he's going to be a guy to monitor. Is he going to practice this week? What's his availability going to be like? Obviously, Cam Sutton would have a much bigger role on Sunday should Mike Hilton not be able to go. Hopefully Mike Hilton's able to go. And I think that's really it. I mean, the fact that DeCastro got in limited practice, that's pretty good, but we still have to see. Again, though, it's pretty crazy that, that's an all-pro guard we're talking about, but should he not be able to go on Sunday, we have the confidence in Kevin Dotson that we've had all year. That isn't going to change. Like the way that he's held up against the best, pancaking Fletcher Cox was good again this past Sunday. So I don't have any issue should Kevin Dotson have to start another game. But I mean, I'm pretty encouraged to look at the injury report.
Yeah, so am I. There's not too much on there. Not a lot to be concerned about. I mean, biggest concern for me is probably Mike Hilton. I do have trust in Sutton, but Mike Hilton is arguably the best at what he does. He's arguably the best in the league at what he does. So it's best for the Steelers to have him out there. And just speaking of Dotson, I feel like we talk about him every week. He's just so good. And I'm excited to have him and DeCastro as the 2 guards for this franchise for the next few years because, he has not missed a step. From DeCastro to Dotson, I feel like it's not that it doesn't matter that DeCastro's not there. Of course, we want him in there, but it's not going to make or break your team or the offensive line. He's just been so dominant and so good.
Yeah, it brings up a good point. We had somebody tweeted us this past week about, potential offensive line shuffling we could see for next season. Obviously, Villanueva is a free agent. Matt Filer is going to be a free agent again. So what's this team going to look like? I think that the way Chooks has come in and played, I think that ideally he's the left tackle for them in the future. But that could be the way that they go with that first round pick. I'm not sure. But I would love, for the middle of that offensive line to be Pouncey, DeCastro, and Kevin Dotson as the center and 2 guards. And then you have, obviously, Banner hopefully coming back well from that ACL injury that he suffered. You have Chooks, and potentially they could bring back Matt Filer again, or they could go, again, a tackle early in the draft. I'm not sure. Starting tackles early. We've seen it with this class, even tackles that we're very high on. Andrew Thomas, the 4th overall pick to the Giants, he's pretty much struggled since game 1. There's some other guys like Tristan Wirfs has been pretty good for Tampa, so it's hit or miss. But starting day one is kind of a risk. And when you're talking about having a 39-year-old quarterback next year, I don't know if I want any part of that. So we'll see what they do. But again, if they go out there and put Pouncey, DeCastro, and Dotson as their interior, I like the sound of that. Yeah,
when it comes to position groups on the Steelers, the offensive line is a group that I have really no concerns about whatsoever. I know Villanueva is going to be gone, and with the guys that could replace him with Chooks, Banner, and Filer, I'm very confident in all of those guys, and I'm very excited for this line.
Yeah, the one guy that I'm most curious about there is Filer, and for the reason Tyler just mentioned in the chat, he's been very good for them, at right tackle last year, and then this year at left guard, been pretty solid. So he just does whatever the team asks, and he's pretty solid. You just wonder, what is he going to ask for money-wise? I have no idea what he could get paid because it's just such a question mark. A guy that can play tackle, a guy that can play guard, both at a pretty high level. I don't know what his price tag is going to be. So, yeah, he could be on his way out just due to that. and we have a lot of other priorities to take care of.
That's very true. There's a ton of people we need to pay.
So I want to talk about, a couple things that are kind of flying under the radar for the team. First one, and I said I always want to mention the bad before the good when it comes to these things. The punting sucks. I mean, let's just say it.
Dude, I've said it for like a month. He sucks so bad. Dustin Colquitt is literally like me punting in my backyard. That's basically what we're getting every Sunday.
I mean, okay, so shout out to Shane Kelly. Oh, he just joined here. That's pretty wild that we're about to talk about this, because Shane Kelly sent me this article from Draft Diamonds about Marquette King that he wanted me to talk about. I don't understand how Marquette King still is not employed by an NFL team.
I don't get it either. I mean, it'd be one thing that if he got worked out by different teams and they just didn't sign him, but I don't even think he's worked out with anybody. And for the Steelers, especially being a fan of them, seeing the punting, how did they not see the punting and know that it's an issue? Because it's been terrible. And how do you not even just bring in a guy like that? Like, I know they brought in Jordan Berry again to apparently work out as a punter, but how do you not look at a guy like Marquette King and be like, okay, we'll just work him out, see what he does? Because it's this guy, he literally wants to play for the league minimum and donate the money. It's not about the money. It's not about getting the recognition or anything. He just wants to play. And if he can do it better than Colquitt can, I don't see why you don't make the switch, because Colquitt is terrible. He sucks. I never realized that I would miss Jordan Berry until we got Dustin Colquitt, because at least I was saying to Stubbs on Twitter, at least occasionally Jordan Berry would hit one for like a long distance. I mean, he was terrible at pinning guys inside the 20, but at least if you were backed up in your own end, at least he could get it out from time to time. Dustin Colquitt, if he's punting from like the 10-yard line, it's getting to like the 50.
That's what Pat McAfee said about Jordan Berry. The dude has one of the strongest like boots in the NFL, or well, he's not in the NFL, I guess, right now, but in the game of football. But he doesn't always hit it on the button. But if every punter were to always hit the ball on the button, he has one of the strongest legs. He just, I guess, has an issue with where he's hitting the ball with his foot. So I have no idea. But anyway, in this article, found it interesting here. Are you ready for this?
Yep.
So the top all-time punters in terms of yardage per punt. Shane Lechler is number 1, 47.6. Johnny Hecker is number 2 at 47. Thomas Morstead at 46.8. And then Marquette King is number 4, tied with 2 other people, Brandon Fields and Tress Way, at 46.7 yards per punt. And that is going from 2012 to 2018 between 2 teams. Obviously made his name with the Raiders. He went to the Broncos, got hurt there, and that was kind of it for him. And no team has given him another opportunity, and I have no idea why.
Yeah, I mean, just based off that, why don't you work the man out? It doesn't make sense to me whatsoever how he's unemployed. I mean, and not even just to go with the punting as well, but he's just got the swag and the charisma that, I mean, you want on your team. Like, that's a guy that's a fun guy, word to Kawhi Leonard. But I just don't understand it from, I mean, a Steelers perspective, but an NFL perspective in general. How is no one came in to work this guy out? Because, so I looked up the rankings of right now of the current punters in the NFL for all 32 teams, and Dustin Colquitt is 29th in yards per punt. He's tied with Chris Jones from the Dallas Cowboys. They're at 43 yards per punt.
Oh, he stinks, yeah.
Yeah, there's only 2 guys below them, and it's Thomas Morstead and Sterling Horfichter from the Saints and the Falcons. They're at 41.8 and 41 flat perspective.
So I mentioned Thomas Morstead already because he's among the leaders all time in yards per punt, but it looks like he's at the end of his career. Kind of how Dustin Colquitt was, yet we still signed him.
Yeah, I mean, I was fine with it when the Steelers did it, but then again, I didn't know this is what we were going to be getting when it comes to the punting game. Like, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. I would rather have Jordan Berry on this team than Dustin Colquitt. I don't know if you feel the same, but I genuinely do.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is everybody was ready to move on from Jordan Berry. Like, no one cared what the alternative was. It was just, let's just get rid of Jordan Berry because he stinks. Not thinking that they could possibly ever bring in somebody that was worse, but they managed to do it. Dustin Colquitt, I mean, I don't want to keep harping on the guy. I'm sure he's a great guy, but he's not getting it done on the football field. He has one job, and he's not doing it well right now. And the options are out there for the Steelers to improve in that area. A team that has very few flaws right now. I mean, this one seems like it has a somewhat easy way of resolving the issue. And I mean, it's right in front of you. Just give this guy a tryout. If it doesn't work out, again, no one's saying you have to sign him, but I think that everybody just wants to see him brought in for a tryout just to see how it would go. This is a guy that doesn't even want to make money this year. He wants to play for the minimum and then donate it. So let's bring him in. Let's see if he can still punt 60 yards like he literally just put up a video of him doing. And if it goes well, make him the next punter of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, Dustin Colquitt, by the way, this is his lowest yards per punt since 2005, his rookie season. So I think that's pretty telling. Like, he just doesn't have it anymore.
Again, Stubbs just mentioned something, yards per punt, necessarily not a great stat, because if you're punting from like the 50-yard line or something, you're obviously not going to get a ton of yards there. You're just trying to pin a team deep. So that is very true. But if you're punting from your own end zone and you're only punting 40 yards, that is not good. And that is what we are seeing.
And he can't pin people. So
I would say yards per punt, not necessarily a great stat if you're talking about that. But I still think that like the higher it is, the better, because it shows the type of leg that you have.
Right.
But there are going to be situations where, it can be skewed because you want to pin teams deep. And if you're punting from the 50, you don't really want to have a 50-yard punt and have it go into the end zone.
No, it's just based off the eye test. I don't really think I've seen a lot of him pinning teams.
Well, that's the thing. We're not. What I have liked a lot about the Steelers, this is totally switching, is they're going for it on fourth down a lot as well, fourth and short. We haven't seen a lot of punts from midfield or closer.
Oh, dude, with this defense, if you are on their side of the 50, I do not. I mean, unless it's like 4th and 10. If it's like 4th and 3 and shorter, and you're on their side of the 50, go for it every single time. With the defense you have, I put full trust on that.
Yeah, and here's the thing: Marquette King has not stopped playing football, really. I mean, he was playing in the XFL, so it's not like this guy's just been out of work completely since his time with the Broncos. Like, he was still punting on a team when the XFL was going on.
Do we know why the Raiders cut him?
I don't think that. I thought he just. Oh wait, maybe he was making too much money for them. I don't know. I couldn't remember if he just decided to sign with the Broncos over re-signing with them, or how that played out.
Well, I mean, in his career, like we said, yards per punt isn't everything, but 48.9, 45.2, 44.5, 48.6, 47.4, 44.1.
Here's the thing. Yards per punt, not everything, but Shane Leckler, I mean, if you ask anybody, he's just about the best of all time, if not the best. And he's at the top of the list.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I don't really know what else to say. It's just, I mean, I also never thought we would have this long of a segment talking about punters, if I'm being completely honest.
No, Shane messaged me that, and I said that we had planned on talking about it anyway, because like Steeler Nation has seemed to really get behind this Marquette King thing. I mean, he even tweeted about it. So I figured it was worth talking about a little bit on here, and Shane sent me an article. So I said that we would.
No, I love it. I love it. I just thinking back three plus years ago when we started this show. And if you ask me, are we ever going to have a segment that's like 10 minutes long where we're talking about punters? I probably would have said no.
Pat McAfee isn't though. Isn't what? Some said Pat McAfee isn't. Pat McAfee's like 7th on this list, by the way. Somewhere around there. Anyway, the other thing that I wanted to bring up that's flying under the radar in a positive way. In my opinion, Stephon Tuitt is the most underrated player, not only on the Steelers, potentially in the entire league.
Really?
Yes. He is 3rd in the NFL in total pressures with 31 this year. Can you guess the two players that he is behind?
Total pressures.
Yes.
I'm going to say Myles Garrett and Aaron Donald.
You got one of them.
Which one was it?
Aaron Donald.
Is the other TJ Watt?
No.
Is he on the Steelers?
No.
Oh, then shoot. I don't know. Just tell me the other one.
No, I want you to take at least two more guesses.
Two more guesses. Okay. AFC or NFC?
NFC, I think.
What do you mean you think?
I lost the tweet now.
Shoot. I genuinely don't know. I'm trying to think of pass rushers and I can't think of any that are that would lead.
Oh wait,
league.
no, you were right actually.
Wait,
Number 4 is from the NFC. Shaq Barrett's the one I was thinking of, but he's behind to it. It's Myles Garrett.
Oh, then I'm
You're
a
right.
genius. What are you doing here?
You were right.
What is this amateur hour quiz show?
Donald and someone on the box. Stubbs, I mean, you had the team for Shaq Barrett. So, yes, total pressures this year. Aaron Donald, 36. Myles Garrett, 34. Stephon Tuitt, 31. Shaq Barrett, 30. I thought Barrett and Myles Garrett were reversed.
Okay. I got you.
But, hey, you were right.
I'm actually pretty proud of myself, I will say. That was impressive of me. But
that's why your nickname's the thermostat.
Is there a dumb punchline I'm going to be waiting for?
Did you not see my tweet?
No.
About this?
No. Because I wasn't really on Twitter that much today.
So Ramon Foster and Pat McAfee were having a conversation about Antonio Brown, and Pat responded and said, "Ramon, we're thermostats, not thermometers. We set the temperature. We don't tell the temperature, brother." And I said I was going to be using that a lot.
Well, I mean, I'll accept that. Coming from him, I'll take it.
All right. We probably should talk about the Antonio Brown news real quick.
Is it really news?
I feel like he's been a Seattle Seahawk for 18 months.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is it that much news that they were pursuing him? We all knew that his suspension was up after 8 weeks, whether he was playing or not. So, yeah, I guess it's news.
I don't have a problem, honestly, with him going to Seattle. I just don't want him in Baltimore.
Yeah, I will say I picked him up in not our league because Nico already has him in our league, but in my other league, I picked him up just because, and I didn't have to drop anybody for him. I had an extra spot. So figured why not? I mean,
making that stash.
Yeah, I mean, if the team, Seattle, is going to sign him and I have a spot for him, if you have a fantasy spot, you guys might as well just pick him up just because you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we don't know what AB is going to come out. I mean, is he going to be the former AB? Is he going to look worse? I have no idea. The dude hasn't played in over a year. So
here's the thing. Seattle's fourth in passing offense. If you need Antonio Brown, great. But they don't need help in that area. They can't stop the pass. They're dead last against the pass. Right. So unless Antonio Brown's lining up a cornerback for them, he's not improving that team that much.
Yeah, I mean, it's just making the rich richer, I guess, and which is never a bad thing if you're the rich already. But I see your point. It's not really helping them or putting them over the top by doing so.
Yeah, I hope it's not Baltimore. Granted, I don't know how great.
Is that a rumor?
I would see them as the second most likely. I saw Marlon Humphrey tweet something about, when it was said Seattle being in the mix and others involved. Marlon Humphrey was emphasis on the others involved.
Yeah, I mean, I would hate that too. You're telling me that Antonio Brown leaves and then he becomes not first a Patriot and then a Raven second. I mean, that's just the nightmare for the Steelers. What's he going to be next year? A Brown? I mean. Just do the trifecta.
He'd go to Cincinnati.
Yeah, go to every team in the AFC North.
AJ Green on his way out. Play with Burrow and Tyler Boyd.
Don't Stop. That would suck.
No, but I mean, yeah, we'll see if anything comes of it. Again, I mean, I feel like we've just been talking about this for way too long with nothing happening. Like, we'll see if he signs with somebody. We'll talk about it more when that happens, if it does.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's still a nutcase and a team will come work him out and then they'll realize, hey, this dude's an idiot. Let's not sign him.
He might get into more trouble before then. Who knows?
I mean, I feel bad for saying this, but if he's going to sign with the Ravens, yeah, I hope he gets in trouble.
Okay, speaking of wide receivers, a question that I have for you. Do the Steelers have a number one wide receiver?
No. Very easy answer for me. No. I saw you put that on the list, so I decided to look at the Steelers stats real quick, the receivers, and I'm just going based off how much each of them are targeted, because you figure if you have a number one receiver, you're going to lead the team in targets by a heavy margin. So when it comes to targets, Juju has 28. Deonte Johnson has 26. Also, that was in 4 games. James Washington, 26. Chase Claypool, 24. He also is in the running game as well. Keep that in mind. And I'll include Eric Ebron in this as well. He has 24 targets. So when you break it down to just looking at the targets, I would say no, there's no clear number one receiver. Ben is passing the ball to everyone. And I'm completely okay with that, because if teams are able to do running back by committee, why can't they do wide receivers by committee? Why do you have to have a number one guy that is the guy if you've just got a bunch of studs that you can rely on and pass the ball to? So no, the Steelers do not have a number one wide receiver, and I think it's better that way. I think that they have too many threats on the field at one time for all the teams, and the Steelers offense is even better this year than it has been in the past because of it.
I think I tend to agree with you, and it's, again, I mentioned something about it on the post-game show that we did, or I did, I should say, this past Sunday, where I had the same conversation with somebody, and my answer was no, because you never know who the guy is going to be on a week-to-week basis.
Up until this week, they had a different leading receiver, right? In every game. Up until this week, they had a different leading receiver in every game.
Oh, yeah. And Washington, up until that last Claypool catch, was the leading receiver for this week, and it would have been the first time he was. So yeah, week in and week out, I feel like you just never know who's going to be the guy, and that could change. As it stands right now, this is the case, but we'll see. Again, we talked about it before. I mentioned, like, what's the next step for Chase Claypool, and it's once he becomes a focal point of the offense, can he start beating defenses then? Once teams are actually circling him as the guy, and if they start double teaming him, can he beat that? That's going to be the next step for Chase Claypool. And we'll see if that happens. And if so, I think that he probably has the best chance to emerge as the number one wide receiver this year, just the trajectory that we've seen. But I'm not predicting, that to happen by any means. I'm just saying, if I had to pinpoint one guy in the wide receiver room to take over as the number one receiver, it's probably him. But they don't need one to be successful on offense. We've seen that. And again, this week by week approach where it could be any given guy, terrible for fantasy owners, but it's great for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Right. And then even going past the targets, looking at the yardage. So Chase Claypool has the highest amount on the team, and it's by over 100. But I think I attribute that also to not this past week, but the week before that, where he had 4 touchdowns. He was the heavy target. So he has more yardage. But if you exclude Chase Claypool, and you look at the other receivers, including Eric Ebron, because he is heavy in the passing game, 194 yards, 185, 165, 147, and Claypool has 335. So that's a very balanced attack. And I think if you keep that going up, I don't have a problem with that, because I'll just keep going back to if you can have a running back by committee, why can't you just have multiple wide receivers that are all very good, all doing the same thing? And I just feel like it makes it harder for defenses if you have this kind of offense where everybody is performing at this level, and instead of just keying on one guy. Because if you have a offense that you have one wide receiver, I mean, kind of like I'll relate it to Green Bay, where they have Devontae Adams, and then after that, there's a big drop off at the wide receivers. So if they key on Devontae Adams, double, triple cover him, whatever they want to do, there's not going to be a ton of production from their other wide receivers, unlike the Steelers, where say if they double cover Juju or Chase Claypool, you still got these wide receivers and the tight end that are able to produce and do it well. So I don't see this as a problem. I actually see it as very positive.
Yeah, I don't think the Steelers need to be the ones to key in on who the guy is going to be in the passing game. Let the defense key in on who the guy is that they want to shut down. And then it's going to be all the other guys that are beneficiaries because of that.
So, and the thing is, because you don't have a number wide receiver, there's no Antonio Brown situation where you have a diva that is going to be complaining about either not getting the targets or the catches or the yards or whatever. Like Juju last week had 2 catches for 6 yards. He does not complain at all. He's not going to be the guy that complains. He literally only cares about if the team is winning. Sure, he would like to score touchdowns, like to get more yards, but is that his main concern? No. And that's what I love about him and the rest of this team is that I feel like for the first time in a long time, this team is so like unified. There's no one guy that is making the locker room a cancer or anything like that. They're just performing the way they are because of it.
There's one number that matters to these guys at the end of the day, and it's the number that's in the win column. And that's the best thing about this rock from top to bottom. And I think that was something that they prioritized. Obviously, you can say that the talent outweighs most of the time, but this unit right now that we have, they've never been closer. And I think it's showing up on Sundays. They haven't been perfect, but at the end of the day, they find a way to win ball games on both sides of the football. They do what it takes. And yeah, it starts with obviously Ben completely changing the way that he plays to be successful. Another reason that they're successful is we keep talking about the passing game. What about the running game? I mean, they have a 100-yard running back in 4 out of their 5 games this year. And 3 of those times has been James Conner, who was a guy that a lot of people wanted to replace before the year. And even again, when Le'Veon Bell became available. So I think James Conner deserves a ton of praise for all this noise that he's been hearing, about coming off last year, not being able to stay healthy. And he got, a little bit banged up in game 1. Benny Snell came in, ran for over 100 yards. And even again, people start having that conversation. Is Benny Snell the number 1 running back? We had it on here. We are not absolved from that criticism. We were talking about it. But James Conner has literally gone out there and just shut everybody up. He's running pissed off, which is the best James Conner. The best version of James Conner is a very upset James Conner. And he's going out there on Sundays, and he's just been absolutely balling. And also credit to the offensive line for that. But James Conner looks incredible.
Yeah, I mean, he's on pace for, I think, a little under 1,200 yards. I did the math earlier. I forget the exact number. I think it was like 1,100 something, 1,180 something. But when he's on pace for that, you're right. You got to love it. And I wonder, does this change your opinion at all on whether they should give him a deal? Now, I know that he is not a guy that I think will cost a lot of money or would demand a lot of money, but it's a guy that we thought could be more expendable just because we do have other people to sign. Now, has your decision on that changed at all?
No. I mean, the thing is, what it comes down to, the easy answer is it's about the number. I mean, I guess the length too, the number of years, because it's the running back position. But I mean, how I feel about running backs. And, granted, James Conner is definitely an above average running back, but you can find them, running backs for the most part are a dime a dozen. There's very few that are special. And I think he's a very good running back in this league. I would be weary of paying him, even, throw the fact that he hasn't been the healthiest guy out the window. Just the fact that, he's a running back and he does bring a little bit to the pass game, but he's not a Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara type running back. And I don't know what he's going to command, but I'm probably not paying it, especially with everything else that we have to take care of.
Yeah, I'm still with you. I think that he is one of the guys that are lower on the totem pole when it comes to being paid from the Steelers' perspective. But it is impressive nonetheless of what he's doing this year. And I'm happy he's performing this way because I think when you have a run game like that, it helps open up the pass game. So the offense is very balanced right now, and it's great to see.
Stats that matter. Ryan Platch just popped in here. Steelers are 9-0-1 when James Conner gets 16 plus carries.
Well, that is such an odd stat Like, where did he get that?
Yeah, why 16? I guess he has when he gets 15, you never know what way the results are going to go. But he gets 16, you're winning.
Well, James Conner in the past few games, these 5 games, he's had 6 carries, and that was in the Giants game, where he got injured, and then 16, 18, 15, and 20.
20 carries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, I think the magic number for him probably is in that 15 to 18 range, and then you just spell him a little bit with Benny Snell and Anthony McFarland, who I was kind of disappointed with. He hasn't been getting a ton of opportunity, and I don't know if it's just because the first game that we saw him, he looked pretty good, averaging 7 yards a run. These last 2 games when they've given him the opportunity, he hasn't made the most of it. And even though it's very limited, that's what it's going to be for him. He has to make the most of his touches because he's not going to get a ton off the bat. He has to earn those by doing a lot with his limited touches, which we just haven't seen. So hopefully that changes going forward here, because for what we talked about with James Conner's health, it'd be nice to have some other options to, plug in there and give him some breaks.
Now, since we do not think James Conner will be back, do you think that they will continue to stay in-house with Snell and McFarland? I guess a lot of that depends on what they see this year. But at least at this point, do you think that they would look at either signing a running back or drafting a running back, or do you think they stick with these 2?
So not necessarily what I would do. I will say that I've seen 2 mock drafts now that have the Steelers going with running back Travis Etienne out of Clemson in the first round.
Oh, really?
Which, going back to the Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey type running backs, that's the type of dude he is.
Mm-hmm.
And I would feel okay with that, I guess. I'll
be honest. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of drafting running backs in the first round.
I'm definitely not a huge fan of paying them much money, but drafting them in the first round, I think, like in Kansas City's type situation, they could definitely afford to do it. If your roster is pretty much constructed and it's a complete team, I don't necessarily have an issue with doing it. But again, we kind of talked about early in the show, they could have the need to go tackle early. Obviously Joe Hayden's not getting any younger, and Steven Nelson's going to be on the last year of his deal too. They could maybe go corner when you talk about also Cam Sutton or Mike Hilton leaving. Not necessarily seeing a ton of growth yet from Justin Lane. They could go with another safety because you need 3 now in today's NFL anyway. And, Terrell Edmonds, who actually has been playing pretty well the last couple of weeks. But you need at least 3 solid ones. If Juju leaves in free agency, wide receiver could become a need again. Granted, they should definitely not take him in the first round because they know how to draft them better in the middle rounds anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's a lot of different ways they could go. And I don't think that the Steelers would do it, but it's just go with Travis Etienne, that is. But it's just something I've seen thrown out there a couple times.
I will say I wouldn't hate that for that guy who
I wouldn't. The thing is, I wouldn't be upset about the draft pick. And once he was here, like, I'd love him being a Pittsburgh Steeler. It would just be something like, what position did we not draft that could have been a bigger need to get this guy?
Yeah. I mean, of course, we don't know what the board is. It's going to be a long ways away. But it could just depend on what they have. But if they did draft him, I would be really excited for that. Because, I mean, this is a guy that you thought was going to be coming out last year. And then he decides to stay.
Well, yeah, people thought he was like RB1 for the 2020 draft.
Right. So he decides to stay for his senior year. So, I mean, if they got the chance to draft him, they did. I wouldn't really have that much to complain about.
Yeah. It seems like the chat here that I'm looking at would be pretty happy if Travis Etienne became a Steeler. I'm picturing it now. You know me. I'm now picturing it like on a Steeler jersey, thinking about what number he could potentially wear.
Yeah, I don't think he would keep the number he has at Clemson.
No. What about like 21? Because I assume Sean Davis wouldn't be back next year.
That'd be cool. I'm trying to think of like running back numbers that I like. I mean, most of the time, they are 20s or 30s. So
I think they got to be in the 20s.
Really?
I mean, we've seen him James Conner is 30, and we have seen some with 30. Like DeAndre Swift was 32, which looks stupid, but.
Yeah. I mean, I would like 21. That would look cool.
Look, why are we're talking about a hypothetical number for a guy that's not a Steeler?
True. I mean, honestly, do we have a 29 on our team? I mean, Minka didn't take it, so is it vacated? Just add a 2 in front of the 9 that he has on Clemson.
Yeah, I don't know, potentially.
I wouldn't mind 29.
Okay, but anyways, we're getting way off topic here. We're talking about something. Yeah, James Conner. I mean, we started off giving him a tip of the cap, and now we're talking about potential replacements. But James Conner having a phenomenal 2020 season so far. Just hope he keeps it up, can stay healthy, and just keep running the rock the way that he is to alleviate teams from stopping the pass. Really balanced Steelers offense we've seen this year, and it looks great. They're firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, and so before we preview the Titans game, let's just talk about the Cleveland game for a little bit. Is that how you predicted that it would go down at all? 38-7.
No, even people that thought like this was going to be an easy game for the Steelers, they wouldn't have said they were going to win by 31 points. Like that's something that nobody saw coming. I understand Cleveland was banged up, and they're probably using that as an excuse for why they lost as well. But no, I didn't see that coming. I thought that they would keep it within 10 to 14 points, somewhere around there. Yeah, the thing for me, the best thing for me, I should say, was I knew that in order to win this game, we had to stop the run. And I can't say enough about the defensive front. I mean, again, going back to guys like Stephon Tuitt, I feel like is the most underappreciated Steeler on this roster. Just ridiculous game. I mean, they're manhandling one of the better offensive lines in football, or at least they were to this point. We'll see if that continues throughout the rest of the season, or if it was kind of a mirage based off their opponents for the Browns. But absolutely dominant game from the Steelers defensive line. And, on the reverse side of that, again, James Conner with another 100-yard game. They won this game in the trenches, and then they, kind of just took their shots when they needed to. The deep ball to Claypool, the Ben vintage pump fake on the Washington touchdown, the Minka pick 6, which is great to see. Finally the splash play that we had all kind of been calling for, because he's been great in coverage, but everybody that's what you want to see. You want to see the splash play. Finally we get it. Cam Sutton had an interception. I think that it was kind of just like the perfect recipe. All things came together. The only thing, the hard pill to swallow is the loss of Devin Bush in that game. It's the only reason why it wasn't as sweet as it should have been, but still beating Cleveland by 31 points when Cleveland was coming into this game like it was their Super Bowl, and it was just week 6 for the Steelers. The big question was, can we match that intensity? Because the Browns were coming into this game super amped up, and in every facet, the Steelers answered the bell.
Yeah, that one was for Miles, apparently.
Yeah.
They really showed it. And I think it's great to see that. So the Steelers, they went on a 23-game streak of not scoring 30 points, and they have back-to-back weeks of 30-plus. So offense is rolling. The whole team's rolling. It's pretty great.
Yeah. And there wasn't really anything else, kind of questionable what happened on that Rashard Higgins touchdown. I mean, they drop 8 in coverage, and yet he's literally all alone in the end zone. So don't know what happened there. That's the one blemish on the defense, but not. I mean, that's, again, I said it with those guys that were on the post-game show. When you win by 31 points and you're talking about like things like that, you're just kind of nitpicking, because overall it was a great game. Third down defense looked much improved. So I'm happy with the result. And now we're on to Tennessee.
Yeah, it's going to be a big game.
So for us, obviously the loss of Devin Bush to an ACL injury. Tennessee, pretty big injury in their own right. With their left tackle, Taylor Lewan, is going to be out for the season with an ACL injury. So that is huge. I mean, Bud Dupree and TJ Watt in that front, they could be in for another big day, and they have to be, because Tennessee, very similar to Cleveland, you got to stop the run first and foremost. And I've talked about it. I think Ryan Tannehill is more capable than Baker Mayfield, but he operates at his best when you get that run game going, and they can operate, the play action, the RPOs. That's how Tennessee wants to get that offense moving the chains. So we can shut down the run, which is a very tall task. Derrick Henry's as good as it gets when it comes to running the ball. But if they were to control the line of scrimmage in this game, that's the recipe for success. Then that's how you get another win on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I really want to see if this defensive front is up to the test with arguably the best running back in the league. And I don't know. I'm just excited for this game. I don't really know what to say other than I'm excited. I personally want to keep it in the 1:00 spot instead of the being flexed into the Sunday Night Football, only because for some reason in my head, and I mentioned to you last night, I just feel like if it's the Sunday night game, they're going to lose. And I have no idea why I think that. So I'm just happy with the 1:00 game.
It's a 5-star matchup because we're in it.
That's true.
But
That's true.
it is like it's the first time that it was like the fifth time in the last, I don't know, 50 years or something like that. The two undefeated teams are matching up after week 7 or later or something like
Really?
that.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, yeah, the fact that this is a 1:00 game is kind of, I don't want to say outlandish because I'm fine with it. Again, get that game done. We can all take a mid-afternoon nap, have dinner later on, celebrate the win that way. So I'm fine with the time slot, but Sunday Night Football would be pretty cool. If it were home, I actually would prefer it was Sunday Night Football. But that's neither here nor there. When you talk about the matchup itself, go ahead.
So you mentioned the unbeaten teams.
Yes.
So when the Steelers and the Titans meet on Sunday at Nissan Stadium, it will be the 5th time in the Super Bowl era that 2 unbeaten teams have squared off in Week 7 or later. So and the winner of each of these previous 4 matchups has advanced to the Super Bowl that season.
Oh,
so the previous matchups were the Rams and Vikings in 73, Jets and Patriots in 04, Patriots and Colts in 07, and Packers and Broncos in 2015. So if history continues to repeat itself, the winner of this game will go to the Super Bowl.
Well, if it's the Steelers, I agree with that. If it's the Titans that win this game, then I don't think it's happening.
Very true. Very true.
No, but yeah, it would have been interesting. I know that they can flex 2 games, and we were talking about this yesterday, to Sunday Night Football or flex in general. They can flex 2 times between week 5 and 11 or something like that. But also they need like it to happen like 12 days notice or something to do so, what Shane mentioned in the YouTube. So that's obviously not happening now. They're going to stay at 1:00, which again, I'm fine with. As far as the game though, yeah, I don't think that you can understate the loss of Taylor Lewan as much as you can't understate the loss of Devin Bush for the Steelers. Like that is huge for Tennessee in the way that they operate. It's, if Derrick Henry went down, I mean, that would completely take away their identity, but this is a massive loss. Left tackle, the most important position on the offensive line. I think that you could argue the second or third most important position in football. I mean, this is a huge loss for them. It's going to be interesting to see how they try to fill that void. I'm
hoping Bud eats.
Game. Huh?
I'm hoping Bud eats. If it's the left tackle, that's typically where Bud Dupree lines up, so I'm hoping he eats all day.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that that's probably where he's going to be lining up for sure. You know what? Maybe we see. I'm gonna call it on here. I know I called it once already and it didn't happen, but that was on Twitter, not the podcast. Friend of the show, Alex Highsmith, gets his first sack on Sunday.
That'd be great to see.
While he's playing a snap for Bud.
I really think that if this defense with the front that they have, if they can swallow up Derrick Henry and force Tannehill to win the game with his arm, I really like Steelers' chances. Yeah,
you know what? Shane mentioned something that I was gonna that I was thinking about it. I wasn't necessarily gonna bring it up on here. That Bush hasn't been put on IR yet, and it showed like he just didn't practice today. I was wondering, like, what would the possible reason for that be?
I honestly have no clue. I mean, torn ACL. Technically you can play on a torn ACL, but no one does that in professional football or any professional sport for that matter. So I do not see why that would be the case.
Yeah, I have no idea. It just took me by surprise when I saw that. Okay, so I know that I mentioned, I should have done this before. I know that I mentioned last week how I wanted to do keys to victory each week. Mm-hmm. I think that you might be able to just go back to last week though and kind of say the same thing. You got to win at the line of scrimmage. You got to win in the trenches. The defensive line and the offensive line are both going to have good days in order to beat the Tennessee Titans. Very similarly to the Cleveland Browns, you had to shut down the run first and foremost, and that's kind of why the game got out of hand, because we made Baker Mayfield have to throw the ball. Again, Ryan Tannehill, I think, is a much more capable quarterback than Baker Mayfield as it stands right now. But if you shut down the run and force him to throw from the pocket, put them in a situation where they're playing catch-up, I like the Steelers' chances. Secondly, Deonte Johnson is returning in this game. You mentioned how many targets he has in such short time because he hasn't been able to stay on the field. I think that he has to have a good game on Sunday. I think him and Ben need to get on the same page. Whatever's been going on in Deonte's mind, I think needs to be put on the back burner. And it starts with him not being on the punt return. I think that will be a huge help to his mindset. Because I don't know what's been going on back there, but it just doesn't look natural for him. Just let Ray handle the punts. Let Deonte do his thing on offense. And just don't even worry about him being part of the special teams. And number 3 is, and I don't even know, we'll see if Mike Hilton plays, but it's going to be about Cam Sutton for me, whether or not Mike Hilton plays. I mentioned last week how I want to see Cam Sutton on the field more. Almost got to 50% of the snaps, which is my ideal percentage. I said that on here. I think he needs to play 50% of the snaps against Cleveland. I think they need to start dropping more guys on third down and rushing fewer because they're rushing too many guys, leaving guys in one-on-one. I think Cam Sutton is going to be a huge part of Sunday's game, whether it be with or without Mike Hilton on the field.
There you have it, folks. Good stuff.
All right. So Shane, I know you've been pretty interactive in here. I don't know. Is this like the first time you've really like interacted with a YouTube chat? I don't know if I've ever seen you in here before, but yeah, I wish that you would have been part of the post game show this past Sunday. We'll have to make it happen this upcoming one. Tannehill numbers under pressure awful. When he has time, he's one of the best passer ratings in the league. Bull rush is key, so you have to stop the run. Yeah, I didn't know how bad Tannehill's numbers were under pressure. The problem is it's so hard to get pressure on him because the run game has been so successful and they operate so well in play action and stuff. So, but we'll see. What's your prediction for the game?
I'm going to predict that the Steelers win, and I think that this will be a lower scoring game, not low, but lower. And I will say the Steelers win 24-17.
I said to Donnie on the fantasy show earlier that I think that they need to make it ugly. So I think that obviously that would mean that I tend to lean towards your direction. Yeah, I'm gonna say 24-17.
So you and I said the exact same thing. Yeah,
I was about to say 20. But no, I'm going 24-17.
All right.
Let's just stay on the same page. We'll either be right or we'll be wrong.
That's true.
Let's get some predictions. Tyler said 27-20. What do you guys think is going to happen? If one of you guys guess the exact right score, I'll send you a t-shirt of your choice. All right. Tyler's got 27-20.
Shane has 24-10 or 17 garbage time TD. I mean, we need it either or, Shane.
Whoa. You gotta pick one of the two here. You can't get both those predictions. Usually listen on Apple Podcasts. First time I've been able to hear it live. Oh, dope. All right, cool. Well, I hope you're subscribed and hit that notification bell. I assume you are based off the contest that we typically run. Also,
you and everybody else hit the like button.
And helps our videos out. I would say comment, but you guys have been commenting the whole time. And maybe once we wrap up and it's just a YouTube video, comment again or something. I should mention too, we're about to bring on Stubbs here shortly, but tomorrow we will be with Steelers linebacker Ulysses Gilbert here live at 6 p.m. Eastern, right here at youtube.com/c/round412. Be a friend, tell a friend about that. And then for people that are also Pirates fans, or just baseball fans in general, whatever it might be, Pirates third baseman T. Brian Hayes will join the show on Monday, and that will be a little bit earlier. That's at 4 p.m. Eastern.
Logan, 26-24 Steelers.
Okay. Well, yeah, you better pick the Steelers.
And Shane is going with 24-10.
Yeah, he's got to be different than us.
All right, sounds good.
All right, so
I hope we're all right at least on 1 point.
Let's get Stubbs in here and let's talk some NFL bets for the week.
Yeah, and let's do it a little quicker than we normally do our bet show because I'm a student now and I have class in a little bit.
Yeah, I got mine ready. Yeah, we took too much. I think what threw us off was the Antonio Brown situation.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I haven't really looked at my bets yet because I was going to plan on doing them tonight, and I didn't know that we were doing the show today until today. So
true.
I'm just gonna do them live.
All right. Well, we're ready for it. Stubbs, what's going on?
I'm going.
So I went 8-6 last week.
8-6 again.
All right.
I went 6-8, but I'm gonna go 31-13 Steelers.
31. All right.
I think they're not gonna score under 30
again this year.
I don't know. It'll be tough. I think they're just so efficient that they'll probably score over 30 again, and I think it's going to be a very similar game to the Browns game.
All right. Well,
I went 5-9, by the way.
I also my most confident did happen. Arizona covered 1.5. My least confident was the under for Atlanta, Minnesota, and that went over. So I was least confident about that for good reason.
I was most confident in apparently the Packers -1. That was obviously wrong. I didn't even know what I picked. I wish I didn't pick that thing. And then I was least confident in the Bills money line. They made a game out of it, but they didn't win. It's all right.
Yeah, I think the Bills have taken themselves, at least for the time being, out of that upper echelon of the AFC.
Yeah,
I think it's just the Steelers, Titans, Chiefs, and Ravens.
Yeah,
I would agree.
My most confident was the Chiefs. That was kind of this
that was like a cop out.
Yeah,
Was it just Chiefs money line or them covering?
Them covering
Okay.
-3.5, and my least confident was the Jets to cover 10 points, and they didn't even score a touchdown.
All right, well, let's get it rolling.
All right, yeah, we got it. Beefy's a student again. So let's kick it off with tomorrow night's game, which is Philadelphia and the New York Football Giants, Thursday night football. So let me pull up the thing here. Okay, Philadelphia -4.5 favorites here, -235 on the money line. The New York Football Giants +194, over under set at 45. I will start out by saying I have Philadelphia -4.5 here.
Beef?
I am going to take under 45 points.
I got the Eagles -4.5.
I feel like they have to be the team that wins that division, right? I mean,
yeah.
After watching Dallas with Andy Dalton on Monday night, like they're going to get better. I think that Andy Dalton needs some time there, but like Philadelphia made it a game with the Ravens, and that gives me a little bit of confidence for that team going forward. They just got to get a little bit healthier. That offensive line stinks, but I think Carson Wentz can will them to a win here. And I think they'll cover 4.5.
They should have won. They dropped 2 touchdowns in the end zone.
Yeah, and
Miles Sanders dropped one, and someone else did.
They're going to win. Conversion sucked too.
They're going to win by 3 points, and you guys are going to look like stooges.
All right, Buffalo and New York Jets here. Buffalo -13.5 point favorites, -750 money line. Jets are +530. Over under set at 44.5. I will say I went the under 44.5 here. I don't like this at all. Like 13.5 is so much for me. Obviously, there's no value on the money line, so it really came down to like over under. I went with the under, just like a coin flip.
They're gonna play pissed off, I think.
I think they're gonna bounce back. And the Jets just suck. They're so bad, and even at home, I don't care. I'm taking the Bills -13.5. I think they're gonna be pissed off about last week, and I think I agree with Stubbs. I'll have a bounce back week. They're gonna cover.
Yeah, I have -13.5.
What if the weather conditions are similar to the way they were for Buffalo, Kansas City, though?
Then
I still think they cover.
The Jets won't score a point. I'm hoping that it's like a 24-0 game again, or like 24-7 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that they won't. I'm just more confident, I guess, in the under than I am with.
Yeah,
I just think the level of play from the Jets to like almost any other football team is so far off that 13.5 points doesn't bother me as much as it would with another matchup.
Yeah. Okay. Carolina and New Orleans here. New Orleans -7.5 point favorites, -340 on the money line. Carolina +275. The over/under is set at 51.
So is Michael Thomas going to fight someone this week, or is he going to play?
So he is no longer being punished by the team. Sean Payton said, still somewhat dealing with an ankle injury, but they said it's improving. If I'm flipping the coin, I'd say that he's out there.
Man, it's just, this is just a tough pick for me because is Michael Thomas going to change it that much where I think that they're going to cover the 7.5?
I got Carolina +7.5 here. I think it's going to be a close game. So
that's where I tend to lean too.
You can't lose in that situation, I feel.
Yeah, I'm going Carolina plus 7.5. I trust Teddy Bridgewater to keep them within a touchdown.
Is their defense pretty good?
Carolina's?
Yeah, how are they winning games?
I got no idea. I
They
mean,
they're always in the mix every game they're in.
yeah, they're 3-3 now. I went with the under here, actually, the under 51. If I were betting either, on the spread, I would take Carolina to cover as opposed to New Orleans to cover. I don't know. I don't like most of my bets. I'm not confident about. I feel like I could put them all under least confident this week.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
Cleveland, Cincinnati, the Battle of Ohio here. Cleveland minus 3.5 point favorites, minus 178 money line. Cincinnati plus 150. Over under set at 50.5.
Let me ask you a question. You'll probably know better than I would. How are the Bengals at stopping the run?
I don't know how the Bengals are stopping the run, but they're unbelievable to bet on.
yeah. They're 5-0 or 4-1 against the spread this year. I have them plus 3.5.
I was gonna say, depending on the how they are against the run, I might just take the money line.
I think they may have been watching the Steelers' game plan and just attack Baker.
They are literally middle of the pack against the run.
Yeah, you know what? You got to make it fun sometimes. We're taking Bengals money line. Let's go.
I think the Bengals might get their second win of the year.
I just trust Joe Burrow.
I went over on the points here, over 50.5. I think a lot of points are getting scored in this game. What?
I said boo. That's the boring pick.
That takes some nuts to do that. I guess that's, when I picked Miami to beat San Fran, I got some looks, and that panned out well. So I would love it if this panned out well for you.
Yeah, that's true.
If they lose to Cincinnati, the questions people have about Baker Mayfield now,
is Baker for sure playing? Like, is his rib injuries like?
He said that they feel better like this week of practice as opposed to last week. So
I don't know how after watching the film of that game.
He could be lying, but we'll find out pretty shortly when he gets hit.
Yeah, that's true.
Stubbs, what was your pick?
Bengals plus 3.5. They're the only reason I have a decent record every week.
Dallas and Washington. Dallas minus 1 point favorites, minus 116 money line. Washington minus 102. So another one of those minus both teams on the money line. And the over under is set at 46.
Dude, let me just say that right off the bat, going into this year, Dallas playing Washington and the spread is -1. I never would have thought that would happen. Then again, I never would have thought Dak would be injured the way he did. But still, -1. I feel like that's so low.
That's my pick on this game is Dallas -1.
I have Washington on the money line for this one.
Do you think Andy Dalton will pick it up?
No.
He's not going to play worse. He might play the same, but he's not going to play worse.
Maybe he'll have a better connection with these receivers going into week 2 being a starter. So
Chase Young playing?
What?
Is Chase Young playing?
Yeah.
Oh, he's gonna have 17 sacks.
Yeah, that not only are they the worst defense in football, that offensive line is not necessarily just due to being bad, but they're just so banged up.
Yeah.
They stink.
I'll go with -1 with the Cowboys as well. Don't love it. I haven't loved any of these picks, to be honest.
Has Dallas covered have they won this year covering the spread yet?
I don't know.
Don't know what the spread was for them against Atlanta, but I'd assume they didn't cover against the Giants because they won it with a field goal at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't cover against the Giants. But for this, one point, you just have to basically win the game.
Yeah.
Although that'd be funny if they didn't.
They only beat Atlanta by 1 point, right? Yeah, so they definitely didn't.
That'd be funny if they won by 1 point against Washington and they just pushed. They didn't even cover.
Yeah.
I don't know. Zeke literally just don't fumble in this game.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right. Well, that game sucks. Moving on.
This game sucks too.
Oh, yeah. Well, they all do. That's what I said. I don't feel confident about anything. Detroit and Atlanta. Atlanta minus 2-point favorites, minus 134. Detroit is plus 114 on the money line. The over-under is set at 55.5.
Yikes, man. I mean,
I went over 55.5.
That's what I'm looking at. It's got good odds at minus 105. And I feel like Atlanta's defense sucks. So Detroit should be able to put up some points on them. And we all know, even though the team sucks, Atlanta can put up points. So I'm with you. I'm going over 55.5.
I got Lions money line here at plus 114.
I don't hate it.
No, that's solid. I'm surprised that they're not favored in this game.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, they're winning 10 games in a playoff game this year, so I don't know why they're underdogs. Yeah, Tyler, if you would Darren Gibson the ball like 20 times, then I'd probably pick him. Green Bay and Houston. Green Bay minus 3.5, minus 190 money line. Houston plus 160. Over under set at 57.5.
That's a lot of points, man.
That's a lot of points. I took the under 57.5.
I got Packers minus 3.5. Aaron Rodgers is going to be pissed off.
Dude, I'm like scared to take the Packers now because of last week.
Yeah, he's going to. I don't know. The Texans' defense stinks.
Yeah, and him and Devontae Adams better bounce back.
Yeah. I have to have a better record at some point. I want to go positive at some point, so I'm picking the under as well.
Our game here, Pittsburgh and Tennessee. Tennessee minus 1.5 point favorites. So Pittsburgh obviously plus 1.5. They are plus 104 on the money line, as opposed to Tennessee's minus 122. The over under set at 50.5.
Dude, Steelers money line, and it was the easiest bet of my life.
So once again, I should mention that I won't actually be placing this bet, but I will take the Steelers money line as well. If I were betting.
I got him plus 1.5 for some reason, but
why the?
And that's my most confident.
Just pick the money line, man.
If we lose by 1 point on a end field goal,
all right, I guess.
Seattle, Arizona. Seattle minus 3.5, minus 180 money line. Arizona plus 152. Over under set at 55.5.
I think both offenses are going to put up some points in this game. I'm picking over 55.5.
That's what I have as well. I predicted on the fantasy show, because those are my QB1 and QB2s for the week, that both teams would score 30.
Yeah, I think neither defense is very good at anything. So I'm going to go with, over.
I agree, Tyler. Take the icer.
I'm taking the Seahawks minus 3.5 here. I think they start quick for once, put up some points, and then, it'll be like a shootout. Rest of the game, they'll win by like 7 to 10 points. That's what I'm guessing.
Okay. Jacksonville and the Los Angeles Chargers, where the Chargers minus 7.5 point favorites coming off their bye, minus 390 on the money line. Jacksonville's plus 310, and the over under is set at 49.
I don't know. How much trust do I have in Justin Herbert?
I don't have as much trust in him as everyone else does. Like, they're saying he's like the next big thing, but he's 0-4. He hasn't won a game yet.
Yeah, but they should have beat New Orleans. Their kicker missed an extra point in a field goal in overtime.
So I'm going to take the team with plus 7. I'm taking the Jags plus 7.5 because it's going to be a close game.
I think my only argument with that is that like the Bengals are 1-4.
It's the same. Like they're good, but they're not winning games.
I'm gonna pick under 49 points.
I went with the Chargers to cover here, coming off a bye week, so hopefully Keenan Allen's good to go. I'm not sure what's going on with that actually, even though I say it, but hopefully he's good to go. Should be well rested. I think, a week of preparation, completely off from physical activity for Justin Herbert. They come into this game and against the Jacksonville team that a lot of people thought would have the number one pick coming into the year. I don't think that they're that bad. They're nowhere near as bad as the Jets. But, they're shipping off pieces left and right still. I don't even know. They might have a different team by Sunday as the trade deadline nears. So I'll take the Chargers here to cover. We're hearing a lot about Myles Jack. Is he still going to be on the team? Or is he going to be in a Steelers uniform? Who knows?
Okay.
All right. So moving along, Kansas City and Denver. Kansas City minus 9.5 point favorites, plus 420 on the money line. Denver's plus 320, over under set at 46.
Man.
I got the Chiefs minus 9.5.
Give me the Chiefs minus 9.5 in my sleep.
Maybe they'll play like they should.
Denver played New England pretty well. Obviously, they won.
Well, New England's not Kansas City.
No, but Kansas City hasn't looked like Kansas City either.
Yeah,
it's true. But when they want to, they can.
I'm going over 46 here.
You said all that. You're not going to take the Broncos to cover?
No. I just don't think that Kansas City. I could still see them covering, but I'm more confident in just going the over on points here.
I get it.
Kansas City's defense, I don't know what they have on defense. Like Tyrann Mathieu, Frank Clark, Chris Jones.
Daniel Sorensen, thank you very much.
No. So yeah, I took the over there. San Fran and New England. New England is minus 1.5 point favorites, minus 126 money line. San Fran plus 108, and the over under set at 43.5.
I have the 49ers money line here at plus 108.
I have under 43.5.
Maybe I should start just picking unders.
Wait, what was your pick, Stubbs?
49ers money line.
Oh, I took New England minus 1.5.
They played a hell of a game last week.
Yeah, I took New England minus 1.5 here just because I don't see Bill Belichick's team losing 3 in a row. And that's literally it. That's
Makes
my
sense.
only reasoning.
Cam, that offense looked so terrible last week.
They did. And if it were literally any other coach there, I would predict the other team.
Yeah.
Because of that. That's my only reason is I don't see a Bill Belichick coach team losing 3 in a row, but it very well could happen. And I might bring that game up later, but Tampa Bay and Las Vegas, Tampa Bay is minus 4 point favorites, minus 210 money line, Las Vegas plus 176, over under 51.5.
I got the Bucks minus 4. That defense played insane against Aaron Rodgers last week, so they're playing kind of like Steelers are right now, except they haven't won as many.
Yeah, their defense is legit. I think that they're one of the best in the league as well. But Vegas, I don't know what to make of that team. Like, are they
so hit or miss?
Like an extra playoff spot? Think about you look at every quarterback metric, regular or advanced, and Derek Carr is playing pretty well right now. And
you have Josh Jacobs.
Don't think they win this game, but I think that they could keep it somewhat close. Tampa Bay's defense is just too good for me.
It's in Las Vegas.
I went the under 51.5. I think Tampa Bay very well could cover this game. With how good Tampa Bay's defense is, I think that they hold Vegas to under 20. I don't know that they get to 30. Yeah, I'll go under 51.5.
So I'm going to agree with you, and it's because of the odds are better at minus 105 compared to minus 110 with the spread. So I'm going to say under 51.5 as well.
Gotcha. Okay. And to wrap it up, Chicago and the LA Rams Monday Night Football. LA minus 6 on the spread, minus 270 money line. Chicago plus 220, over under 44.5.
This was the easiest pick for me.
LA looks so unimpressive last Sunday.
I got Chicago plus 6 here. I think this was the easiest pick for me. It's not my most confident pick, but it was like the easiest one because their Bears are 5-1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're always in close games, so I'll take the 6 points.
Bears are 5-1, and the Rams are 4-2. They've beaten Dallas, Philly, New York, and Washington, and they've lost to San Fran and Buffalo. How have they played the entire NFC East already?
Yeah, it is odd. I'm going to pick the under in this game. I feel like both defenses are pretty solid. So they'll be able to keep the game low scoring, under 44.5.
All right, well, me and you are on opposite ends here. I went the over.
Ooh.
What's my reasoning behind it?
You don't have one.
Nope. I put a number in my head of like what I think the final score is going to be, and I was like, oh, that would be over.
I mean, I was tempted to take the Bears money line at 220, but I didn't do it. I really just got to get a better record. I mean, I've been terrible.
Yeah, I'm not doing too bad on these. So my most confident and my least confident here. My most confident, I will go. Well, I mentioned how I feel about that Seattle-Arizona game. So I guess to stay true to that, I kind of have to go with that. So the over 55.5 in that game, I'll say is my most confident. And for my least confident, probably that San Fran New England game, because the only reason I'm doing it is because of who their coach is, not really the team. So, yeah, it's probably my least confident.
All right. My least confident, I'm probably going to say, is Panthers plus 7.5, because, I mean, the Saints can put up a lot of points, especially if Michael Thomas is healthy, and it's hard for teams to play catch-up sometimes. So, yeah, I'm going to say that's my least confident. Most confident, how could I not say Steelers money line? They're winning that game. Let's go.
My most confident, I switched it because I knew you were going to pick the Steelers, Beefy. So you're most confident.
I had to.
Switched it to the Bears plus 6. My most confident, and least confident is 49ers money line.
Okay.
Why it's the least confident? Because Smitty mentioned Bill Belichick.
But that's funny because it's also my least confident for the exact opposite reason.
Yeah.
I don't think that New England's that great of a team, but when you have Bill Belichick as your head coach, I think he mastered a lot of that. So for them to lose 3 in a row, I mean, has that ever happened under him?
Maybe not in New England.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I don't know.
Probably.
Okay, but I think that about wraps it up. I know our student here has to get to class pretty soon, so.
Yeah, I have class at 8. Just wanted to make sure I had enough time between.
On your computer, or you have to go?
Yeah, on my computer. So all my classes are online, and most of them, or pretty much all of them, I do myself, except for this one class that I have a live Zoom meeting every week for 7 weeks. It's basically like a course to like help you become a better student that every student has to take.
Yeah. Those are the worst classes.
Yeah. So for the next 7 weeks, I'll be doing that, but then I'm done, and it's just online.
Okay, so to wrap things up, I got a couple things I want to tell you guys about. As I mentioned on every show, Rocking Around the 412 year 3 has kicked off. We have about 2 more months, actually a little less than 2 months before we will stop taking the donations, and don't know the exact date of when we will do the prizes, but right now we have 9 different prizes: autographed memorabilia, Pirates, Penguins, and Steelers. So you donate at least $20 to the cause, and you'll be eligible to win any of those prizes. All the money that we raise will go to families who need that money to provide Christmas for their children, families that otherwise would not be able to provide the children with those Christmases. It's the second year that we've done this. Last year was awesome, so we're excited to be back and doing it for another year. It's not currently our pinned tweet because this is actually like we have a couple interviews coming up that I want people to know about, and then once those wrap up, it will once again be our pinned tweet. But you can find it, just search at Around the 412 and the word Rockin', and it should come right up. Other than that, I will tell you guys about Keach Barbershop, and we would get out of here. Keach Barbershop, it's an old-fashioned barbershop. It's located at 180 Brighton Avenue in Rochester, PA. He's open 11 to 7 Tuesday through Friday, 9 to 4 on Saturday. Every Tuesday, he does $5 off for military personnel, first responders, and nurses. Again, that's Keach Barbershop, 180 Brighton Avenue in Rochester, PA. Big shout out to Keeks. Big shout out to Manscaped. Big shout out to Stubbs for joining us again on the betting show. And we will be back next week with the exact same thing. Be sure to come here tomorrow, 6 p.m. for Round the 4-2 live with Steelers linebacker Ulysses Gilbert. And also, once again, I will mention Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern, we will be joined by Pirates third baseman T. Brian Hayes. So until tomorrow,